Hi, my name is Mandy Smith. I'm the Southwest Region Education Specialist for the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission. In this video, we'll talk about what makes a fish a fish. First, all fish are vertebrates, which means they have a backbone. If we take a look, I have an x-ray of a pumpkin seed fish, and you can see that backbone running right down the center line of the fish. Now, some fish have a hard bone for their backbone, and others have a soft cartilage. Nearly all fish in Pennsylvania are bony fish, meaning they have that hard backbone. Next, all fish are cold-blooded. This is also called being ectothermic. Now, being cold-blooded doesn't mean that their bodies are cold. It means that their body temperature will change depending on the temperature around them. Next, all fish spend their entire lives in the water. This means that they've developed some adaptations to help them to survive in an aquatic world. First, they use gills to breathe instead of lungs like we have. The gills are located inside the body, behind the eyes, and are covered by a hard bony plate that opens here. That hard bony plate is called the operculum, and it protects the gills inside, much like our lungs are protected by our rib cage. If you were to look at the gills inside the body, you would see they're kind of feathery in there, and they're red because they have a lot of blood vessels in them. If you ever watch a fish in an aquarium, you'll see that it's always opening and closing its mouth and opening and closing that gill cover. And what it's doing is it's taking in water and passing it over the gills, and the gills are able to get oxygen from the water. Now, the gills are very sensitive. So unless you're taking a fish home with you, you never want to stick your fingers inside that gill opening whenever you catch the fish. Another adaptation that fish have to live in a watery world is that they all have fins, and each type of fin serves a different purpose. Let's take a look at them. Okay. So the pair of fins that are on the side of their head are called the pectoral fins. And they also have a pair of fins on their belly below called the pelvic fins. Both the pectoral and the pelvic fins are used to help the fish steer, stop, and hover in place. Next, you have the dorsal fin on the back, and this fin helps keep the fish from rolling over. Sometimes that fin can help protect the fish too, because some fish have sharp spines that they can raise up to help protect them from predators. Near the anal opening is the anal fin on the bottom, and that also serves to help the fish balance in the water. And finally, we have the caudal fin, which is also called the tail fin, of course, and that tail fin propels the fish forward in the water when it's swimming. So, what makes a fish a fish? First, they're all vertebrates. They're cold-blooded. They live their entire lives in the water, so they have gills to breathe and fins to move about. In this video, we'll talk about some of the characteristics that can help you when you're looking to identify a species of fish that you caught. One thing you'll want to look at are the fins. Pennsylvania fish can be grouped into two different types, spiny-rayed fish and soft-rayed fish. To tell which is which, you'll want to look at the dorsal fin, which is the fin that's on the top of the fish. Spiny-rayed fish have two dorsal fins, or one dorsal fin that's split into two sections. The first dorsal fin or section has rays that are hard and spiny. The second dorsal fin or section have soft rays. Bass are an example of spiny-rayed fish. The yellow perch is another example of a spiny-rayed fish. Bluegill and other types of panfish, such as pumpkin seed. Soft-rayed fish have just one dorsal fin, and it's soft. They may also have another type of fin called an adipose fin, which is a soft, fatty fin between the dorsal fin and the tail. Okay. So trout are an example of a soft-rayed fish. Other examples include a white sucker and the catfish. Speaking of catfish, they have another feature that is useful in identifying fish. They have these long whiskers, which we call barbels. Okay? And barbels are soft and fleshy, and they're sensory organs that help them to taste and smell for food in the water. The barbels on a catfish are usually pretty long. Another couple examples of other fish that have barbels would be a common carp. They have little barbels there, and the bowfin. All right, so you can see that the barbels on these fish are much shorter than those on the catfish. The scales are another feature to look for in fish. Some fish, like this common carp, have scales that are really large. And some fish, like the trout, have very small scales. And there's a lot of fish that have scale sizes in between that. Now the large scales provide a lot of protection for the fish. And it's kind of like having body armor. It's a lot of protection, but it slows the fish down. Whereas the small scales allow the fish to move more quickly in the water, but they offer little protection. The catfish actually has no scales on its body, and they can actually get oxygen through the skin as long as it's wet for quite some time. They also have taste buds that are all over that scaleless body that they have. So catfish are very cool, aren't they? Body shape is another characteristic that you can look for when identifying fish. Is the body, for example, round and flattened from side to side, like that of a bluegill or a sunfish? Is it more long and streamlined like a torpedo, like a trout has? Is their body flat on the bottom, like on a catfish or a suckerfish? Sculpin, those that go on the bottom have flat bodies. Does it have a hump on its back, like this freshwater drum has? Or maybe it has a long snake-like body, like an American eel. There are many characteristics that you can look at when you're trying to identify fish. Other things you can look for are the shape of the mouth. You can look at the shape of the tail fin, and you can look at different colorations or markings that are on the fish. Do you want to give it a shot? Let's see. So when you look at this fish here, what characteristics do you see that could help you to identify it? When I look at it, I first see it has a long, streamlined body. I see it has just one dorsal fin, so it's a soft-rayed fish. Its tail has a fork in it. And its mouth, it has a big mouth, but it's flattened, kind of like a duckbill. So we call it a duckbill mouth. And finally, I see that it has stripes going up and down, vertical stripes, almost like a tiger. And this is a tiger muskie. We'll practice with one more. What characteristics do you see on this fish that could help you to identify it? I see that it has two dorsal fins and that it is a spiny rayed fish. Then you can see those sharp spines. Okay, I see its tail is slightly forked. I can see it has a dark horizontal bar going along the body. And it's kind of hard to see in this picture. It would have a better time if its mouth was open, but this fish has a big mouth, and its mouth will open up all the way back to the eyes or even farther than that. And this is a largemouth bass. So when you're looking to identify a new fish that you caught and you're unsure what it is, some of the things you can look for are the type of fins that it has. You can see if it has barbels or not. You can look for the size of the scales. Are they big scales? Are they little scales? Maybe you've caught a catfish and it has no scales to it. Body shape is another characteristic. Is it round? Is it streamlined and long? You can look at the shape of the mouth. You can look at the shape of the tail, and you can look at the colorations or markings on the body. In this video, we'll talk about fish habitats and local fishing opportunities. We are very fortunate in Pennsylvania to have incredible fishing opportunities. We have over 86,000 miles of rivers, creeks, and streams in Pennsylvania. Think about this. One trip around the earth is about 25,000 miles, and we have over 86,000 miles of flowing water in Pennsylvania. That means that we could go around the earth more than 3 times, putting together our miles of rivers, creeks, and streams. We also have nearly 4,000 lakes, ponds, and reservoirs. In the northwest part of the state, we have coastline to one of the Great Lakes, Lake Erie. And in the southeast part of the state, we have shoreline along the Delaware estuary, which leads to the Atlantic Ocean. But in order for a fish to live in a body of water, its habitat needs must be met. Certain fish prefer and are adapted to live in specific water bodies or habitats. One very important habitat factor for fish is water temperature. Each fish species has a range of temperatures in which it can live. Furthermore, each fish species has a smaller temperature range that is preferred. Fish can live, grow, and reproduce when they are in their preferred temperature range. For example, largemouth bass and panfish prefer warm water habitats where water temperature is higher than 75 degrees, such as ponds and lakes. Smallmouth bass prefer rivers and larger streams because they need cool water temperatures falling between 65 to 75 degrees. And trout need cold water, streams, or the cooler waters found deep in a lake. Fish have the same basic habitat needs as any other animal. They need food, water, shelter, and space. Shelter is sometimes called structure. Structure such as stumps and fallen trees, rocks, aquatic vegetation, docks, all provide for fish a place to hide from predators, to find prey, and to build nests. Structure also includes any quick changes below the water surface, any quick changes in elevation. When you're deciding where to cast your line, take a look and see if you can find areas of structure. Those will be a good place to fish. Sometimes the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission provides habitat help to fish. In lakes, for example, staff will build what is called porcupine cribs. Okay, it's a type of habitat structure. They'll also might build post cluster structures or rock rubble humps. These structures provide habitat for aquatic bugs, which provides food for fish, and it provides shelter and protection for the fish. Here's a sketch of a lake. Can you find structure where fish may be found in this lake? This lake has numerous areas of structure. We have some natural structure, such as the fallen tree. We have lily pads, some here, and some other aquatic vegetation. We also have some man-made structures. We've got docks here and up here. We have a fishing pier and a bridge. All right, and some habitat structures put in place, such as porcupine cribs and the rock rubble humps. You can find maps of lakes that have had fish habitat improvement work done, such as this one, on the Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission website at www.fishandboat.com. You'll also find interactive maps, weekly reports, and biologist reports that will help you find a great fishing spot near you.